Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 30 of our WWE 2021 save in TEW 2020. This is the go home edition of Raw for SummerSlam. And yes, we were almost there. And one episode of SmackDown. And then we may do a little mini preview episode of SummerSlam, which will probably be, 10-ish minutes or so. It won't be very long. And then it will be SummerSlam. So you will have SummerSlam within the next week or so. And I'll give you the specific date on when it'll be posted once we get to SmackDown here in several days. But there is the tease, and yes, we are almost there. All this building we've been doing to get to SummerSlam, we're close. And this will be the final build for Raw. And just as I said last week, I thought last week's episode of Raw, probably the most significant episode we've had of Raw in this series. I think this one's going to also come pretty close. So that tells you, we have really tried to kick things up a notch week after week and gradually build the intensity as we head towards SummerSlam. I think we're there. And you'll see based on how this episode of Raw plays out. Let's jump into the pre-show, which is Dijak getting the win over Akira Tozawa, 635, 49 overall. Not bad here. I know it was mentioned in the comments. I think it was Ben that discussed, maybe putting Dijak in some of these dark matches, giving him a spot here, not to get lost in the shuffle. So that's what we do here. We do give him a chance to get a win. He doesn't have many in this series, but we just don't really have anything for him to do right now. That's just the honest truth. And so this is, we'll find something for him to do eventually, just kind of keep things fresh and come up with different matchups and such. But right now we just haven't factored him into any storylines. We'll see if that changes with him, but he does get the win here, 49 overall against Akira Tozawa. Angel Garza gets the win over Reginald, also in pre-show action, 648, 43 overall, not bad here. Reginald, we've now used him back-to-back weeks, I guess, after not using him at all, really, over the past, the entire series, I guess. This is the first two times we've used him. Garza, though, unlike Dijak, we do have actually some plans built in for Garza. There are some things we're going to get to with him, storyline-wise, here in the near future. So for all the Angel Garza fans, that is worth noting. We haven't done much with him yet, but he will factor into more of a regular sort of storyline kind of spot here in the near future. So that is worth looking at. And now we go into the main show. As always, we like to start things off with a big segment, and that's what we're going to do here. And he gets an 83 overall, as it is Edge coming out to call out Randy Orton. And if you remember last week's episode of Raw, the show started with Edge laid out backstage. Steve Austin and Rey Mysterio come in to find him. And Edge, no idea what happened. That builds the frustration leading into that main event where Edge accidentally spears Rey Mysterio. And then afterwards, he's so frustrated, he just hauls off on Bobby Lashley and Sheamus with a chair. And then after that, it was Edge accusing Randy Orton of being the mastermind behind all of this and saying that he was responsible for everything. And Edge said that he wanted Orton to show up this week. So, Edge waiting. No Randy Orton. Doesn't show up. And so Edge, finally growing more frustrated, says that Orton has become the reason that Edge will win Money in the Bank on Sunday and become WWE Champion once again. And that is sort of the setup here for Edge. And then he mentions that even if Randy Orton does not want to show up, that when he does, they have unfinished business. So Edge sending a clear message to Randy Orton here. And except before he can continue to say anything else, it is Bobby Lashley and MVP making their way down. As a good segment here, 85 overall. Lashley pissed off after Edge just hauled off on him with the chair last week. So Lashley makes his way down with MVP, and Lashley is on a mission. He is doing basically the Vince McMahon walk, coming down on a mission with a purpose here, and he is unhappy, hits the ring. Him and MVP get right in, and they get ready to go after Edge, but we get even better here. 86. Daniel Bryan comes out. And so as Lashley and MVP start to go after Edge, Edge starts to try to fight off Lashley. Here comes Daniel Bryan, who comes running in and makes the save from Edge. And so they clear the ring. And so then it is just Edge and Daniel Bryan sitting there, in the middle of the ring now. They are the ones that sort of calm down Bobby Lashley and MVP So it's Bryan being a good friend here to Edge, coming out, making the save. And yes, so that is kind of builds more of that, certainly the heat that we have between Lashley and Bryan, but also we know Lashley, he's got his hands full here with what's been going on with Edge here over the past week. So good stuff here, great segment, and will not be the last we see of any of these parties here on this particular episode. And another great segment here as we go straight from that, we go to the back, where it is, I know a lot of segments to start off with here, but I promise, this is just, it's not going to be this way all the time, but it's just something we have to do to kind of move forward. So after the commercial, we go back, and it is Edge apologizing to Daniel Bryan and Rey Mysterio. So Edge says, look, he knows he cost them the match last week on Raw. However, he is going to, basically say he's sorry. He didn't mean to do any of that, accidentally hitting Rey with a spear, all that stuff, and that he is now leaving the arena. Orton didn't show up. He's leaving to prepare for Money in the Bank because, like he says here, you never know when the Viper, Randy Orton, will strike. And so he says he doesn't want to wait to find out after what happened last week. So Edge is leaving to prepare for Money in the Bank, and he just wanted to make sure they were good. They all agree. All is good with them. So Edge heads out to get ready for that big Money in the Bank match on Sunday, not wanting to chance it with Randy Orton potentially striking at any time. And another segment here, I know what you're thinking. We got no matches yet on this card. I promise. It's okay. I didn't love to start things off this way, but really when you look at the whole Bryan, Edge, Lashley, that kind of thing, it's kind of three different segments, but it's basically all one thing that kind of runs together. But we quickly have a promo here from the Street Profits right before their match, so they're heading down to ringside for our opening match, and it is Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford cutting a promo here saying that, hey, they're going to get even more revenge on Dolph Ziggler. We know last week it was Montez Ford, found laid out mysteriously as well, and Dawkins took his spot immediately. The blame goes to Dolph Ziggler, who said he was going to get his revenge on Ford. So that was that, and that's going to lead into actually our first match, which is a 51 overall. It is the Street Profits getting the win over the Dirty Dogs as Montez Ford gets the pin on Robert Roode with the Frog Splash. I know we've done this match before several times, and you guys know I don't like doing rematches all the time, but this is something we just kind of had to do to fit in here leading into SummerSlam. And again, it plays into what we saw last week with now, Montez Ford seemingly getting his revenge on, the accused attacker of Dolph Ziggler. So yeah, this is just kind of gives Ford some momentum heading into the Money in the Bank since he is in there. And, Dawkins has been doing pretty well too. So this is a win for the Street Profits. And now Montez Ford heads into Money in the Bank on Sunday. And then we get a 69 overall here, a nice segment. However, as we know, this is unusual because Bayley, usually great improvising, and these two usually deliver, 70s or 80s when they do their promos. Not quite that level here, but that's okay. As it is Bayley and Sasha cutting a promo saying that they have a gift for Shirai before this big triple threat Raw Women's title match that they're going to have on Sunday. And that she will be presented with that gift tonight. So there you go. There's a tease for that. But these two, usually gold on the mic here, but this segment doesn't do as well because for whatever reason, Bayley, very poor improvising dialogue. Very unusual. Probably the first time that's happened, actually, in our save. I could be wrong, but usually these two do well. But no, it's all good. We'll get to their gift segment shortly. And then, another great segment here, 86 overall. It is Steve Austin announcing that Sheamus is dealing with injuries from that chair attack from Edge last week. So Sheamus not in attendance. He's not here on the show. And then Austin calls in Cesaro and starts asking Cesaro what he knows. Does he know anything about what is going on with what's been happening on Raw? Talking about the chaos, all this stuff that's happening backstage. And Austin just tells Cesaro he can't quite place his finger on it, but something's wrong. Something's up, and he just wants Cesaro to make sure that he has his head on a swivel here heading into Money in the Bank because Austin says, look, my famous words are, don't trust anybody. And, Austin's talked about the people that are getting attacked and all this other stuff and just how basically all hell is broken loose backstage on Raw, and that he doesn't want Cesaro, who he believes in, to potentially, lose his shot at a potential championship opportunity because of someone else. And so he tells Cesaro again, he says it twice, don't trust anybody heading into, Money in the Bank. And he just wants Cesaro to be on guard, be alert, because there's just too much happening right now on Raw. And he's always been a big Cesaro fan, like I said, and he doesn't want that to, anything to be left to chance here with this. So Cesaro says he'll be fine. He knows what to do. He can take care of himself. So there's a message from Austin to Cesaro. And then we go to a match with Cesaro and Rey Mysterio, who get the win over Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. 58 overall, not great, but once again, it's a popularity thing. Gable and Benjamin just not very over. Even though they can go in the ring, they're just not over from a popularity standpoint. So not a big deal, but it is, as you would expect, Cesaro and Mysterio getting the win here to kind of build some momentum of their own heading into SummerSlam. They're both in the Money in the Bank match on Sunday, so that's good for them. And they get the win here in tag team action. So now they will get ready for the Money in the Bank match. And then we get a promo here from Big E. Doesn't do great without a script to follow. I can't remember if we normally script Big E or not. I think for the most part, sometimes he usually does pretty well without a script. But it's okay. A 72 is not bad by any means, so we'll take that. He sends a message to AJ Styles. AJ's been running from him here for the past several weeks. Scared. He doesn't want to face him, but Big E says, look, you're not going to have a choice at SummerSlam. Like, you're going to have to get in the ring with me, and there will be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And so that's Big E sending his message to AJ Styles ahead of their big grudge match at SummerSlam. But that won't be all we see of Big E here. As it is Big E going one-on-one with Omos, and it only goes 440, 44 overall, not a great match. It ends with Big E winning by disqualification after AJ Styles runs in and attacks Big E. So that, I know what you're thinking, like, it's a terrible match, like a 44, but we know why. I wanted to kind of set this up. It just felt like the right time to do this match, to have Omos in there in the spot against Big E, kind of, AJ's kind of bodyguard heading into the big match. But we know, too, that Omos getting penalized for basics, inexperience, psychology, inconsistency, all that. He doesn't have the ring experience or skills to really be able to keep up in some of these matches. So I tried to keep it short here at 440. Even that, probably a little too long. But it is what it is. We just wanted to kind of give this a try because we really haven't put Omos in any significant singles matches. Like, we put him in dark matches, but we haven't really put him in any, singles matches, I think, on television. I don't think he's been in any, actually, to this point. So we wanted to give this a try, see what it looked like. Obviously, it didn't look great, but that's okay. It's not great for the storyline, we know, heading into it, but I think the match between Big E and AJ will deliver, so I'm not really too concerned about that. So that is kind of your build here. AJ runs in, attacks Big E, so he does it now that he has a little help from Omos, but that's the setup heading into their match on Sunday. And then a promo, 78, Kevin Owens hyping up his match with Goldberg, which will be for the United States title at SummerSlam. And Owens responding to Goldberg, who came back last week and said, hey, the reason I'm here is because he wants to kind of end his career the same way he started it in terms of his big moment, which was winning the United States title back in WCW. He wants to end it with the title that made him, and that is the U.S. title. And Owens says, that's great and all, but he's got to stop living in the past. That was then. This is now. They're not going back to 97 or 98. This is now, and that this is the Kevin Owens era with the United States Championship, and that Goldberg will not take it away from him at SummerSlam. And so he tells Goldberg, stop living in the past. There's only one now. You only have the present, and this is it. In that, in the present, Owens will beat Goldberg any day of the week, and he will especially do that on Sunday at SummerSlam. So there's your bill from Kevin Owens. We know he delivers on the mic with everything. Usually all his matches deliver too. Owens has been great thus far. So that is the segment there to lead into that big match on Sunday for the United States title. And then is Io Shirai getting a win over Mandy Rose, 705, moonsault press there. 55 overall, not bad. We've done this pretty much so far we've done it with Sasha. And as you'll see in a minute, we're going to have another match with Bayley coming up. But just giving these women some momentum heading into the triple threat match. And that's what this is. But it's actually going to lead into something bigger here, which is 67th segment on this. Bayley and Sasha hit the ring after Io Shirai's win, and they attack Io Shirai. And then they sort of stare at each other. So you get a little side-eye between Bayley and Sasha Banks after they take down their opponent, Io Shirai. they start to look at each other, and we all know subliminally what that means heading into a triple threat match. A little tension teased here between these two, because it won't be a handicap match. It won't be these two just going after Io Shirai. At some point, someone has to win the triple threat match, and that's why these two sort of look at each other after they take her out. Could be the same scenario on Sunday, but one of them will actually have to do something to the other, perhaps to win the championship. So there's your little tease. Possible dissension there between those two heading into that match on Sunday. But we are not done with them. Actually, one person in particular we're not done with. She'll be on the show in a second. And that is, we go straight from that. So they take out Shirai. Then they go straight into the match between Bayley and Carmella. It gets a 60 overall. It is Bayley getting the win, of course, in this one. 748, Bayley to belly suplex. Good to see here. First time we put these two together. Pretty good chemistry, so we could always go back to that down the road if we want to. Know the match would be good, but 60 overall. So we just kind of had the transition there where we just immediately transition from what happened at the end of that match into this match. And, Io Shirai not around because she just got attacked. And so Bayley able to get the win here in this one. So there's her win. So now all three of the women have wins heading into the match on Sunday. And then we get our big showdown here. 84 overall. I would like this to be actually a little bit better, but come on, we're not going to complain about an 84. It is Bobby Lashley coming back out because Lashley is he's angry. He is just on a mission tonight. After Daniel Bryan came out, made the save for Edge earlier, Lashley comes out and says he's not waiting until SummerSlam anymore. He's tired of this. He's not messing around with Daniel Bryan anymore. And Bryan comes out. They go face to face. Here comes Austin. And Austin's telling him, ho, wait just a second. He's got the mic. Telling him he doesn't want his main event to be put in jeopardy. He loves a good brawl, but he does not want to see these two tear each other apart tonight. And so that's not enough. As these two about to start going at it, Austin calls to the back. Here comes all these people. Akira Tozawa, Garza, Dijak, Rick Boogs, Mansoor. They're all coming out to prevent sort of the pull-apart brawl here. And we just got chaos all over the place with this. And it's what you want, right? Like a little chaos, which we've had on Raw throughout this entire last month or so. These two cannot wait to go after each other. So that builds the heat there heading into our big championship match for the WWE title on Sunday. And Austin, after all this, finally gets the ring cleared out. He gets all these guys sent to the back. They pull Lashley to the back. Then they pull Bryan away as well. And then it's just Austin standing in the ring with a microphone. And no, we're not done yet on this episode of Raw. And that is because we get our best segment of the night, a 90 overall. Austin in the ring. And all of a sudden, on the video screen, we see a camera running towards the parking lot, and Cesaro is laid out, just completely out. I mean, he is out of commission in the parking lot. And we see officials coming in to check on Cesaro. He has no idea what's going on. He's been knocked down, and they're trying to help him and all this other stuff. And so Austin, looking on concern with the microphone still in his hand. And then a road agent walks in and hands Steve Austin some sort of piece of paper. It's a note of some sort, and Austin has the microphone in his hand, and he reads the note, and then he looks back up at the screen, and then he looks at all the fans in the audience, and Austin says, I know what all you're wondering right now. He's like, I know, I'm a man of the people. He's going to give the people what they want. They want to know what is on this note that he just received. And on the note, it says, on Sunday, everything will change. And who signed that note? Then none other than Randy Orton. So, there is your setup heading into Sunday. We remember the last time Randy Orton was on Raw, his message to Steve Austin was, the next time you see me, everything will change. And now Orton has seemingly called his shot to say that will take place on Sunday at SummerSlam. So, there's your setup. There is the go-home edition of Raw. Ends in spectacular fashion. And now let's see what we get from an overall standpoint. A 74 overall. lost its popularity, so this was not one of our higher rated shows. It did increase in 4 regions, but I will tell you, I know exactly what the reason for that is. If you look at our matches, I think our main event was actually a 60. And we really didn't have any matches that hit above a 60, I think, when I look at it here. Yeah, 51, 58, 44, 55, 60. So that was the issue on this, but I wasn't really concerned about the matches because, as we know, this was a very storyline-heavy show. And you guys know I don't necessarily start, a show with this many storylines, this many angles, non-matches. But we just kind of, instead of putting these all into one, we kind of separated quite a few of these. And so this will not be the, again, you can go back through any of the shows we've done thus far. We haven't done that for any show, but we kind of had to set it up this way here because, again, we had a lot to sort of get in to try to, get that final push for SummerSlam. And so this was easily the reason why this sort of, got bogged down a bit from an overall rating standpoint, but I'm not really concerned about that. But that was the reason. That makes sense. But nonetheless, I'm thrilled with how the build for Raw kind of unfolded going into SummerSlam. And now we have got so many different loose ends dangling out there heading into SummerSlam. That was exactly what I wanted. So I'm excited from a Raw standpoint. I'm excited for SummerSlam, but really excited from the Raw standpoint of what we're going to see at SummerSlam. Let's see what we need to get to before we wrap up. All right, we got a few things to get to here. Looks like Raw, great. We didn't strike gold, but in my mind, we struck gold with how we're building towards that. It's all good. We'll take it. If you look at some of the noteworthy stuff here, looks like Eric Redbeard, Eric Rowan, signs with MLW, so that's interesting. Hikaru Shida staying with AEW. I will say that we did have Hikaru Shida on our short list, and we did consider signing her. Ultimately decided not to. Nothing against Shida. I love Shida. But we just decided not to sign her. I looked around sort of at our entire roster from a women's standpoint, and like our developmental, we've got several good star quality wrestlers in that. So we just wanted to focus on that for now. And also, as we know, that's one of our owner goals too, which I will tell you, I'm still considering this owner goal thing. I'm not sure we're going to keep it off. I'm just being honest with you. But we'll talk about that maybe on the state of August or whichever the next one is we do. It's be September, I guess. State of WWE we do after every pay-per-view. We'll talk about that on that. So Shida stays with AEW. Damian Priest contract is ending, so we will address that. Obviously, we're not going to let Damian Priest go. Curtis Axel relocating to the Great Lakes. All right. Sheamus has an opinion. I thought it was going to be about Ricochet. Didn't everyone when they saw that? Didn't you? You had to think that was going to be Ricochet, right? So Dijak needs to learn how to sell. Not worth pushing until that's addressed. So Sheamus has some choice words on Dijak, so we need to keep that at the front of our mind there. Drug testing fees. Raw gets a 3.35. I don't think that's one of our better ratings, but that's all right. Elias contract also ending. That was something that came up, I guess, before the show. Yeah, that came up before. I wanted to leave that in there. So we got Damian Priest and Elias, both their contracts. Kenny Omega, worth noting, is gone from AAA. That doesn't really mean anything for us. He's still on AEW, signed to a contract, so we can't really do anything with that. Jonah Rock is injured. Looks like just a strained bicep. So Bronson Reed dealing with a strained bicep there and can still perform. So not a significant injury for him. And then Bobby Fish's developmental contract is ending too. So we have a decision to make on that as well. We may actually talked about that on the last episode, didn't we? So maybe we did. So those are still some things I need to get to before we head into SummerSlam. But there you go. That is the go-home edition of Raw, and hopefully you enjoyed it. And now for Raw, it's SummerSlam. That's next. How exciting is that to say? We're not going into the next edition of Raw yet. The next edition that's going to have Raw people on it is going to be SummerSlam, and that is fun to say. So we will talk more about that. I do think I'm going to do a little mini preview episode for SummerSlam. I've decided. It'll be pretty short, but we'll talk a little bit about the storylines just to kind of get some people jazzed up. And if for people who want to just jump into SummerSlam, haven't necessarily watched the whole thing, we can find a way to sort of get them involved with it too. So we may put that together. Any ideas, anything you want to see on that little mini preview episode of SummerSlam, let me know, and we can put that into the ideas. This is all about you guys. So anything you want to see in the little preview episode, let me know, and we can try to put some of that in there. Obviously, I don't want to give anything away, storyline standpoint or winners, losers, anything like that, but we will talk a little bit about that going into SummerSlam. So there's Raw. Next episode will be SmackDown, and then it will be the little mini preview, and then it's SummerSlam. So you'll get all this within the span of a week or so here. And as I said, on SmackDown, I will officially give you a date for when SummerSlam will be posted, and then the preview will go up before that. So there you have it. As always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, always enjoy the feedback, so keep it coming. And on the next episode, it will be the go-home edition of SmackDown before SummerSlam.